So the Peewee documentary it's great. It's great. It's a 2-parter. It's on HBO Max. And like, you call it it's what's it called? Pee Wee Herman as himself or something like that? Yeah, Pee Wee Herman as himself. And like thematically, it really gets into what an incredibly private person Paul Reubens was. And how he protected that privacy. And that he was also kind of a nut himself in that he had a lot of control issues. He's extremely wanting to be in control of everything around him, which, by the way, I mean, I get it, like wanting to kind of be in environments that you can control. But when you are that controlling, that is enough to drive a person crazy because you can't control everything. It's an impossibility. Trust me, I've tried. And yeah, and it was just a really interesting thing because you watch this doc and you do get the sense that it wasn't all great all the time. That like it seemed like he put this documentarian through hell to get this doc done. Yeah. And that he was one of these guys. It seemed like at the height of Peewee fame, he was an asshole. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the people that were around him.
I mean, he's one of the biggest people in the world. Yeah. I think that really got to his head.
Yeah. And not only was he one of the biggest people in the world, but he was one of the biggest people in the world based on a character that he created completely by himself and he has autonomy over. Like nobody can tell Paul how to do Peewee. So when Peewee becomes a big success, it's not just you're successful as a performer. It's this whole world that now exists and there is an economy is all based on what's going on in your brain. Yeah. But you know what struck me the most about the doc, and they spend it's good that it's a 2-parter because a lot of times I don't like it when they spend a ton of time on them before they were famous because it's like I want to get to the stuff that I knew. But I think that this one really does a great job of kind of adding depth to who he was as a performer, what motivated the Peewee character, what motivated him to become famous and everything, how this thing started in the Groundlings and what it was originally and how it evolved into a kids' TV show and everything. But I got to tell you, and I don't know, maybe I just didn't contextualize it properly. You know what I think I got the most emotional for watching? When they went in to Pee-wee's Playhouse, the TV show, like taking off. Like I just like listening to the theme and watching the intro and then watching all these clips, and I forgot how obsessed I was with this show as a kid. I forgot that it was for a period of time, it was my whole world. Like, I forgot that when I was probably like 5 years old, and my cousins got married, and they were like 7, so that was crazy. And they were cousins, so it was fucked up. No, what? No, my cousin got married to the person who would become my cousin-in-law. But my point is, I had forgotten my only thing, and it all came flooding back to me. My only thing about the wedding, they were like, you have to wear a suit because it's a wedding, and I was like, it has to be a Peewee suit. I want a red bow tie. I want a gray suit. Like, as a kid, I'm like, no, I want like not like a costume. Like, if I have to wear a suit, I want a gray suit and a red bow tie.
Are there pictures of this?
100%. My parents really get. I gotta find it.
Yeah, you do.
I gotta find it.
I know your dad's listening right now.
100%. Because I remember specifically going, I want a Peewee suit. My mom going crazy, and it wasn't perfect. Like it might have been a red polka dotted bow tie or something like that. But that
was enough.
Yeah, but you can tell when I tell you that was the motivation behind it. You go, oh yeah, I see what you were trying to pull off there. Because I was so obsessed. I had all the action figures. I had Talking Peewee. I had Talking Cherry, like the big chair for Talking Peewee. And like, and it
Cowboy
all,
Carl?
Huh?
You have Cowboy Carl?
Cowboy Curtis.
Curtis, sorry.
I had the action figures. I had Cowboy Curtis. And like some of the characters I forgot. Obviously, I remember Cowboy Curtis. Obviously, I remembered Miss Yvonne.
Yes.
But I had forgotten the King of Cartoons. And I was obsessed with him when I was a kid. And like, I never even knew that he was like a blaxploitation actor from like Blackula.
No, because why would we know that?
No,
you know,
no, and you don't realize like how much of that like sort of like underlying like sort of almost like a John Watersy influence was going into Pee-wee's Playhouse. Like he was putting all of his subtext in for the stuff that he loved, but still keeping it like this is a legit kids show. I wanted to shut the doc off before we got to Big Top Peewee.
Right, because there is no, like, in retrospect with that movie. It's not.
It sucks.
It's not a good movie.
That movie sucks. But I'll tell you what was interesting. As soon as he was like, when I was like 12, whatever, however old he was, 12, whatever, when his family moved to Sarasota, Florida, and he said that there was like a whole circus culture in Sarasota, that the Ringling Brothers were there for the spring or whatever, and like people who lived there were circus performers, and immediately I was like, this is where Big Top Peewee comes from.
Yeah, absolutely.
As soon as they got to that part in the doc, I was like, okay, this is going to come back when he does Big Top Peewee, and then it reminded me, oh no, they're going to talk about Big Top Peewee. That sucks. That's like, because you know.
Well, you have to, because it's like, it's the first time Pee-wee fails.
Right. But you know, like, knowing Peewee, you're like, oh shit. Because I'm having a great time. I'm like, this is the rise of Paul Reubens. I'm looking at him as a performer. I know it's going to pay off. I know his dreams are going to come true. I know he's going to do that. I know Phil Hartman's going to show up. I know the whole thing's going to happen. And then I'm like, oh, wait. They're going to get to Big Top Peewee. Oh, no. They're going to get to jack off in the movie theater. Oh, no. I don't want that part.
Talk about the whole thing.
I know. I don't want that act.
That was such a culture shock. Nobody had ever seen that guy before. Who's this guy?
I didn't know who he was. He described it as his Charles Manson mugshot.
I mean, it is, because, like, who's this guy with long hair?
Yeah, because
and a goatee.
And a slightly receding hairline.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
He doesn't have a receding hairline.
I don't think that's him. I think that's someone else. I think that must be mistaken.
Officer, you have the wrong guy.
Also, like, Paul Reubens, and they didn't discuss this in the doc, but I'm sad that he's passed on, because I would love to interview him to ask him, like, it seems like he can grow hair very quickly. And I would love to ask him about that, because it seemed like if he was just like, oh, I'd like to have a full giant beard, it would just take him 2 weeks to get a full beard, and then he'd shave the whole thing off, then he'd grow it right back. You know what I mean?
Some people are just hairy like that.
I know, and I never knew that about Pee-wee, so I would love to ask him about
You'd
that.
say that's a remarkable trait that he has.
I'd say it's remarkable. I'd say your hair
That's
grows.
the question.
Well, I was really curious about that as I was watching, because they go to clips of him when he was younger, and it seemed like every time Pee-wee was off the air for 2 weeks, he'd have a full beard and hair down to his shoulders. Yeah. And I would love to ask him about how he did that. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, I'll never get the chance.
No.
I didn't realize he was
Jack our offer?
No, I knew that.
Oh.
But I didn't realize he was such a hoarder. I don't know if hoarder is the right word.
Well, what's interesting is
collector.
Collector is the word they used. I could see where somebody would say hoarder.
Because it's not like, you walk into his house and you can't walk around. Like, he's not that type of hoarder.
No, but there are only paths that you may walk around.
But it's a lot of stuff, and it's all cataloged, and it's all.
But that's what it is. That's the difference. It's a lot of stuff. It's not like one thing. It's just stuff. It's almost like the walls on Pee-wee's Playhouse that are all like cluttered with every pop culture reference you can imagine is how he literally lived his life. You know, like that's how he liked to have things around him.
I didn't realize that Pee-wee's Big Adventure came before the show.
I didn't know that either. I mean, I knew that before the doc, but I didn't know that growing up.
Growing up, I was just like, oh, this is the guy that I know from the show.
That's right. I saw it on a movie channel. I thought for a long time, I thought it was a movie based on the show.
Yeah, so did I. But, the movie came out when I was, 4, so it's not like I went to the theaters to see it.
It's such a genius movie.
It's brilliant.
But it's interesting, too. He said that, and this is that, going back to The Prestige, where I said Mike Love is the guy on stage, it's a disease when you want to be the guy on stage. It's a much healthier thing to not want to be the guy on stage, but a lot of people want the adulation. They want to be the guy on stage. And that's how I felt when Paul was saying, he made this Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Tim Burton got all this credit, and this guy got all this credit, but he didn't feel like he got enough credit as a producer, as the brain behind it. And it's like, bro, it's your movie. Everybody knows it's your movie. Nobody's even thinking about that.
People love the credit.
Yeah.
Of course.
They need the credit.
Yes, and they need to have their hands on everything, and that's why he goes and does Big Top Peewee, and he does it completely his own way, and he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. Like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, it was like, let me show you what I can do. Big Top Peewee he goes and does. He doesn't have to prove it to anyone anymore, and he's hands-on with everything, and at that point in his life, because it is after the show, nobody can tell him nothing. You know what I mean?
They want to give him that freedom. They're like, go do this. You're obviously successful.
When we give you that freedom, it works. And then he gets indulgent. That's what happens. When people get indulgent with that freedom and stop thinking about the audience and think about I'm a genius, luckily, so I'll just do what I like.
Good for you guys. I am a genius.
Yeah, good news. that's when they start fucking up. You know, nobody wants to see Pee-wee making out with some Italian broad.
No.
You know what I mean? People don't like that.
But then he bounced back quick with the Christmas special. He's like, we got to get this out.
He did bounce back quick with the Christmas special.
And people loved it.
I mean, it's a great Christmas special. It's one of the great Christmas specials.
So sometimes that failure is like, oh boy, we got to.
You sometimes you need the kick in the ass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes for sure you need the kick in the ass. Yeah, and then I got sad again when he was like, when they showed him like shooting the last episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse. I was like, fuck, man. I wish Pee-wee's Playhouse just lasted forever. I'd still be watching that on Saturday mornings.
Still?
Yeah, hell yeah, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It was a good show.
I like that him and all the guys that worked with him that were making the sketches of like what things look like and everybody behind the scenes, they were all stoners.
Yeah,
And
stoners
they were
and punk
smoking
rock
a
dudes.
lot of weed and
Yup.
punk rock dudes.
Yep.
And that's something like as a kid, you don't ever think that this guy's like high as hell.
No,
Like,
but you wonder if your parents were like, oh yeah, like we know what this is.
you wonder, like 80s, it felt like it was a bit naive and maybe just because we were kids. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know if our parents were like, oh, this is kind of stoner humor.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, and then they did have the comeback arc when he gets to actually be an actor as Paul Reubens,
Oh, yeah.
which was great. And by the way, like Blow,
I was going to say Blow is the first thing I think I remember Paul Reubens being in.
yeah, I mean, I remember like
I know he did some sitcoms, like some guest appearances.
I remember that he was in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie that the
Okay,
series was based on.
I skipped that one.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer movie is a classic.
I never seen it.
But it was almost like it was almost like marketing. Like, oh, that's so funny that Pee-wee's a vampire. It wasn't like Paul Reubens is an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But Blow is like, because he's great in Blow. And he's just Paul
Yeah,
Reubens.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's like an essential.
He's just an actor, and he's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an essential part of the story. And by the way, his character in Blow gets, I believe, referenced in the Fat Joe song Lean Back.
Really?
Yes. There's a reference to his character in Derek for Real.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
What was it? It was Buffy that his idea of what to look like was
The
his
mugshot. Yeah, he said, I want to look as much like my mugshot as
funny is
possible.
that?
It's so funny. It's so funny. But I mean, he was like, he was like a weirdo artist guy.
Yeah.
I mean, his comeback at the MTV Awards is the
It's
greatest
incredible.
thing of all time.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you remember watching that and being like, oh my God, I can't believe he's here.
It was the greatest thing anybody had pulled off because basically like, and it was also very interesting, right? Because when Pee-wee got busted in the adult movie theater, I go like this, Pee-wee had his Pee-wee out.
You say that,
I just started.
but by Peewee you mean penis.
Ween.
Ween.
Yeah, but you can use that joke with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Pee-wee had his Pee-wee out. Nobody's ever done that before. Since 91, no one said it. But like, he was like, kind of a recluse for a while. He went to Florida, lived with his parents, and then he moved back, but like put like blackout.
He hid out in my town in New Jersey. He hid out.
Oh yeah,
at
that's
the
right.
Duke
It wasn't
Estate.
Florida. It was Jersey, where his parents were
He
there.
hid out at the Duke Estate, which is also where Michael Jackson hid out, and it's literally 10 minutes from where I grew up. And you drive through that area all the time. They own so much property there. You can't see the house. You can never see the house from the road, but like you drive through the Duke Estate to get everywhere.
No wonder. So that's where shamed people go to hide.
Yeah.
No wonder that's where you grew up.
No. No, it was very public.
So yeah, so he hires this PR firm that's like, hey, I'm Pee-wee and my life is ruined. Like, how do I fix this? And he's like, I can't leave my house. I'm surrounded by photographers. And I thought this part was interesting just from I never would have thought of it, but how do celebrities handle this PR? Like, why do they make the decisions that they made? And the PR firm basically said, you just have to take the steam out of everything. So the Band-Aid's been peeled off and the first thing's been done. So the first thing we got to do is get a picture of you in public. And now the first picture's been taken and we'll hire the guy that we like. We'll set it all up, go to this restaurant, he'll take a picture. And now the first picture has been taken, which means any other pictures of you have, they're not worth anything compared to what it was going to be worth. And it worked, like, right? All the paparazzi go away. And then they were like, okay, next we have to give people don't want Paul Reubens' response. They want Pee-wee's response. So we just have to give them that taste of Pee-wee, and then I think they can move on. And then so that's why Paul Reubens came out at the MTV Awards. But it's also, I think, one of those moments for him where, like, and this has happened for other people too, where the news is making this huge deal out of it, right? And like the groups, the like, oh, won't somebody think of the children groups are like, pearl clutching and stuff like that. But most people are like, wait, he just went to a porno theater like in his free time? Like, I don't care. Like, he didn't.
He says he didn't jerk off, but even if he did,
I don't care if he jerked off. He says he didn't.
He says he didn't.
But I mean, also like, but the whole idea of like indecent exposure in a jerk off theater, like,
is that what you do there?
Yeah, I mean, what about everybody else's dicks? Did you arrest everybody?
Why just mine?
Yeah. So like, and I think most people, you know, who weren't like caught up in everything, were like, yeah, we don't care. We love Peewee. We want Peewee back. And so Peewee coming out, I think, and making it okay by being in character and going, no, I'm Peewee and I'm here, made it okay for everybody else. And then everybody in that building could cheer for him. And then everybody watching could be like, oh, okay, I was thinking the same thing. I thought it was fine.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it was fine. I was just going to say that too. And now he's able to bounce back.
That's all it takes. It just takes someone, and it was him,
right,
to just, you know.
Show me a group of people saying it's okay. So that I can go like, it's
Everyone
okay.
will say it's okay.